the time has come to talk about this event. I'm so sorry. I just want to say that the video that I made about 4x4 being a big cube yesterday, it wasn't really that much of a controversy. Not a lot of people really talk about this. But clock being a WCA event has actually been discussed a lot of times in the past. And I just want to get all those facts in this one video. And we'll see if it really should be an event or not. Firstly, if you're unfamiliar with the puzzle of a clock, it's basically got a 3x3 grid of 9 clocks, and there are these dials here, and they spin around the clock, so as you can see, and we have the pins here that can be up or down. It does take a little while to figure out how these things move, but it's pretty simple. I then go on to explain every single clock move, but I'm going to cut that out because that's irrelevant. Now, the reason why so many people are against this puzzle being in the WCA is if you look at all the 10 other WCA puzzles, yes, there are variations on some of them. You can solve a 3x3 one-handed or blindfolded, but you can clearly see that all these puzzles are twisty puzzles. They have an axis that they can rotate on, and that's how they can basically scramble. And the clock is nothing like that. It's kind of just something all on its own. So, I mean, you can't really argue with that. If the WCA consists of twisty puzzles, then these puzzles are alright, but why this? Because I guess you could twist the clocks, but does that really look the same as this? Or this? I can see where it's coming from. So before this clock was released, I'll get to that later, there was basically no good clock. Basically, the best one was a Rubik's clock, which was very rare and was from the 1980s. And that was basically the only one that was there and could be used, and it was actually good. Now, even puzzles like Square One and 7x7, which historically some have had pretty bad puzzles and only bad puzzles, but now the hardware is just amazing for these puzzles. Like, this Budget 7x7 is amazing, this Budget Square One, it's pretty good. I guess if you were arguing before this came out, I'll get to it later, you could say that clock has no good hardware. It makes sense that not many people want to try this event, because if the hardware's so bad, then why would they want to get good at it? Because there's basically no point. And I think the last main argument is that it's not very fun to watch. And this also does make sense, because if you're at a competition and you see someone solving a clock from far away, you can't see a thing that they're doing, basically. You can't really see all the hands on the clock. In contrast, if you see someone solving like a 7x7 or pretty much any other WCA puzzles, you can see what they're doing, and it's very clear when something is solved. So it just makes the solve more exciting, or at least better to watch, because you can see what the person's doing. So I think those are the 3 main reasons that people have against clock being a WCA event. And if I'm going to be honest, those are all valid reasons, and I'm not going to disprove them. They're actually good reasons. But we do have a few rebuttals. Now, you can kind of tell I was foreshadowing this, but back then, when I say back then, I probably mean like 2 years ago, when probably I wasn't even cubing back then, there was no good clock hardware. And if no manufacturers wanted to design good clocks, then, I mean, it's up to them. Like, GAN doesn't even make 5x5 for some reason, so they didn't have to do a clock if they didn't want to. That's kind of how it was for a very long time. But until recently, until like last year, Qi released the Qi clock, and there was also a Shengshou magnetic clock, but no one cares about that. And this clock, although I haven't tried like any of the older clocks, I can say that for a first clock, even though this is quite expensive, it's about 40 Australian dollars, I'm not sure what that is in the US, but even though it's a little bit expensive, for the only good clock, I think it is definitely worth it. And some of the cheaper clocks like the Shengshou have been known to break, so this is pretty much the only good one. I guess you could argue that it's a little bit expensive and therefore it's not worth it anyway, but at least there is an option, and for what it is, it's pretty good. This is gonna sound very controversial. Here are all the twisty puzzles in the WCA. Now, I said that clock was kind of in its own category and just didn't really fit in. It was, dare I say it, kind of an imposter in the WCA. So, that probably means we should get clock out of here because it's too unique. But if you really think about it, all the twisty puzzles are kind of related in some way. 3x3 you can relate to all the N by Ns, and I can relate through to Megaminx. It's basically just bigger 3x3, and also Square One a little bit. You know, it's kind of like 3x3 with the U and D layers. And Pyraminx and Scuba, you can figure this out. But what I'm trying to say is basically all the puzzles in the WCA are kind of related in some way, only because they're all twisty puzzles and they all rotate on axes. But the thing about clock is that it is so unique that if we removed it, then we'd have this family, but we wouldn't have anything like unique or special in it. We'd just have all of these and like nothing out of the ordinary. If the WCA were to keep clock, it would kind of be this kind of whole new, not whole new, but kind of just its own thing, which I kind of said that in a bad way before, but I feel like it's a good thing because just clock being like the only event which it looks like this, I feel like that could make stuff more interesting because just the uniqueness and just standing out from everything else, I feel like could make it so unique and just be a pretty cool event in general. Okay, that probably didn't make any sense, but hopefully you got my point. Now, that's pretty much all the reasons I have, although I do want to talk about one more thing. I do want to talk about removing WCA events in general. Now, believe me when I say this, there will always be people practicing all of the WCA events. Whether that's FMC, clock, 7x7, 5 blind, there will be people practicing some events that you probably didn't. Like, it makes sense, and it probably should make sense that people spend hours and hours a day practicing 3x3. And some people do that with pretty much every event. There will be people, no matter how much you try to not believe it, there will be people. And if that event gets removed, then all that practice just goes to waste. Now, I know some people will be thinking, oh, if the WCA gets removed, then certainly the Cubing creator gets removed. It can mean a lot to them. Take your favorite event, for example. Mine's definitely going to be 2x2. Even some people think that shouldn't be a WCA event, by the way. And just imagine if that got removed and how you would feel. Would you feel disheartened? Probably. And that's what some people felt like when Feet got removed back in the start of 2020. So, I feel like rejecting an event to be added into the WCA is fine. But removing an event when it was already in the WCA is not. But this is just my opinion. It's not objective. Okay, so what is my opinion on this? Well, I think you might be able to tell from just looking at the way I presented some of the arguments. I feel like clock should stay in the WCA. Now, don't attack me for this. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying it should. Well, I think it should, but I'm not saying that everyone should think this way. This is just my opinion. It's not objective. Just, I think that it should stay. And if you have a different opinion, then why not talk about it in the comments below. Now, I know I made a video way long ago. I'm so sorry. Basically about the same topic, but that time I did not have a clock. And I'm not sure if the Qi clock was released back then. I'm not sure. But if you want to see the link to this video, here it is. So thanks for watching this video. Did this video change your opinion on the subject? Or did this video cement your opinion on this subject? Actually, what I'll do, I can probably do this in the comments below, but I've made a form in the description and the comments, and you can just fill it out and say what you think about this. And I can see which is the more popular response, because I feel like this one's going to be a lot more closer than the 4x4 big cube scenario. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.